Let's talk about the absolutely best house you could buy. Usually when you buy a house, you could live in it, you could rent it out, and hopefully after a few years make some money. But no matter what you do, always buy a house with multiple exit strategies. Meaning there has to be at least two, hopefully more, ways to cash out when the time comes. Say you buy an investment property anywhere in Vancouver, Surrey, Langley, Delta, doesn't matter, on a big lot where you could make an high-rise apartment building. Now, in order to make a high-rise building, you usually need your neighbors involved as well because you need to do a land assembly together. But assuming you're only buying a 2 or 3 bedroom rancher on a bigger lot, it's very hard to hold on to 2-3 bedroom ranches because you'll be paying $3,000-$5,000 out of your own pocket every single month. And these land assembly deals sometimes takes years, if not like 5-10 years sometimes. So usually it's always better not to just get the very like dilapidated rancher if you have the option to get a 2-story house. On the other hand, let's say you're buying a newer, let's say 15-year-old house on a tiny 3,500 square foot lot where you can't really build much in the future. So your only exit strategy would be to selling the house to an end user, not an investor, not a developer, because those guys won't really be interested in the small lot anyway. So doesn't matter, the house might have a suite, 2 suites. Yes, it will be easier to hold than just a rancher on a bigger lot, but the land is what usually appreciates the most. So the house, the structure, even if it's newer now, 10 years from now, it might be really old. So it won't appreciate as much as the land. So buying a newer house on a tiny lot also doesn't really work in your favor in the long run. And thirdly, houses with 1 or multiple suites usually sell for a much higher premium than a house which only has 1 kitchen in the entire house. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to pay the premium if you have the option to avoid it by adding the kitchens yourself. Let's say a house has a bathroom, a separate entrance in the basement, and the only thing that's required is a kitchen, which usually costs anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 max. Of course, why would you pay $100K, $150K more if you have the option to get the same exact house by just paying an extra $15,000, $20,000? And taking everything into account, the best possible house you could buy is an older house on a bigger lot with some sort of a development potential, be it townhouse zoning, apartment zoning OCP, or a subdivision potential or anything similar, with a house with only 1 kitchen which has the potential to make 2 or 3 kitchens and multiple suites. Of course, the more suites you can make, the better. And the reason this is the perfect house to buy is because it has multiple exit strategies. So firstly, you can make the basement suites and sell the house for a profit because you've done some forced appreciation. Remember, by spending $15,000-$20,000, you may be able to raise the house price by $100-$150K. Of course, depends on the location. Not every location, not every house, you could just make the suites and just assume that you have raised the price by 100K. Let's say in the west side of Vancouver, making a suite might even drop the price just because the people there are not really looking for a suite. They just want their entire family to live in the same house. So don't just assume that you'll be making a lot of money just by putting suites. So make sure you talk to a qualified realtor who knows exactly where the demand for multiple suites is. And secondly, you could buy, renovate, and hold on to the house for as long as possible. Doesn't matter, your tenants are paying majority of your mortgage amount because your house has 2 or 3 suites. Of course, compared to a rancher, the guy who has bought a rancher is paying out of pocket every month $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. So a house with multiple suites, it's a lot easier to just hold and let the inflation do the job, and you can sell maybe 5, 10, 15 years from now. And thirdly, while you're comfortably managing your mortgage, you could get a land assembly together with your neighbors and try to sell your house to a developer who could pay a big premium. Of course, it might not happen for a couple of years, but hey, you're comfortably managing the mortgage. Doesn't matter how long it takes. You could hit the jackpot in 2, 3, 4 years. Whenever it happens, it happens. And fourthly, say you're buying a subdividable lot and you're comfortably managing the payments because you have multiple suites. You could get the PLA, also known as the preliminary layout approval from the city, which is pretty much a stamp of approval by the city saying that yes, you could go ahead and do the subdivision. So you could get the PLA and sell the lot as is with the PLA. Usually costs anywhere from $20,000, $30,000, could take 6 to 8 months. But once you have the PLA, it pretty much guarantees the subdivision. Of course, if you have the money to service the lots yourself, let's say you subdivide and service the lot, you could make a lot more money by just selling the lot with the PLA. So you could get the PLA, subdivide, service the lots, and then sell each lot to, let's say, a builder or a developer, and that way you could get a rather healthy return. Of course, if you have a lot more money, or maybe you could just wait for 5-10 years and then have the money to subdivide the lots, service the lots, and then build the houses and then sell the end product, the houses, to end users. That way you could pretty much hit the jackpot. And of course, in Vancouver, the property with the development potential on a large lot could run you anywhere from 2 million to like 2.5 or even more. In Surrey, a house with, let's say, a subdivision potential could be upwards of $1.5 million. And of course, let's say if your budget is a little lower, let's say it's $900,000, I would personally, rather than buying or investing in a townhouse in Surrey or a condo in Vancouver, Burnaby, I would rather buy a similar house that we just talked about in Chilliwack, because in Chilliwack you can easily get a subdividable lot for $900,000. So a typical 1970s BC box on an 8,000 square foot lot with hopefully an 80 feet frontage, which you could subdivide into 40 feet frontages, would be a perfect house to buy. Of course, this is all assuming this is an investment property. Let's say if you work in Vancouver and you have to live close by and you are buying it for you as your principal residence, doesn't matter, ignore everything I just said. This is strictly for investment property. If you're buying an investment property, doesn't matter how far away you can buy, maybe in Chilliwack, and maybe you can rent in Vancouver wherever you're working, you'll come ahead of a lot of people who are just buying condos or townhouses or like very tiny ranchers nearby. So shoot me a message if you want me to send you the list of all the houses with a development potential, and we'll go from there. Bye.